I thought I was being a good husband. 23 years of marriage, and I was cleaning the house while my wife lay sick in bed. I never expected that act of kindness would destroy everything I believed about my life. Here I am at our family cabin, staring at my phone showing 47 missed calls from Sharon. The number keeps climbing, but I'm not ready to answer. Not yet. Not until I've figured out exactly how I'm going to handle what I discovered 3 days ago. It was an ordinary Saturday morning. Sharon had been coughing all week, or at least, that's what I thought. She'd taken to her bed Friday night, claiming she felt terrible, asking me to handle the weekend chores. Being the dutiful husband I'd always been, I got up early, made coffee, and started my routine. Laundry first, then the bathrooms. And the smell of bleach and pine cleaner filled the house as I worked my way through our master bathroom. Sharon was still in bed, occasionally letting out a theatrical cough that echoed down the hallway. I remember thinking how dedicated she was to selling her illness, even when I wasn't in the room. I was thorough, methodical, 45 years old, and I still cleaned like my mother had taught me. Every surface, every corner. When I lifted the small wastebasket beside the toilet to empty it, the plastic liner caught on the rim. The bag tore. Time stopped. 3 used condoms scattered across the pristine white tile floor like evidence at a crime scene. My mind went blank, then raced, then went blank again. We hadn't used condoms in 15 years. Not since I got my vasectomy after our youngest Mark was born. My hands started shaking. The cleaning supplies crashed to the floor as I stumbled backward, staring at the undeniable proof of my wife's betrayal. The metallic taste of shock filled my mouth. My chest felt tight, like someone was slowly tightening a belt around my ribs. I found myself on my knees, staring at those 3 latex reminders of how naive I'd been. Recent. The dates on the packages. When had she bought these? When had she... My stomach lurched. "Jack?" Sharon's voice drifted down the hallway. "Everything okay down there?" The concern in her voice made me want to vomit. How long had she been lying to me? How many Saturday mornings had I cleaned up evidence of her affairs without knowing it? "Fine," I called back, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "Just dropped something." I stood up slowly, my legs unsteady. But something had shifted in my mind. A switch had flipped from shock to something colder, more calculating. I pulled out my phone and took pictures, multiple angles. The condoms, the torn bag, the bathroom where my wife had been entertaining someone else. Not someone. She knew who. This wasn't random. This was planned, repeated, deliberate. I gathered the evidence carefully, placing everything in a clean plastic bag. My hands were steady now. The shaking had stopped. I felt strangely calm, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart instead of my own. 23 years. Our children, Sarah and Mark. The house we'd built together. The retirement plans. The shared dreams and inside jokes and comfortable routines. All of it based on a lie. But I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. She wanted to play games with my life? Fine. I was good at games. I'd spent 2 decades climbing the corporate ladder by staying 10 steps ahead of my competition. Sharon had no idea what she'd just unleashed. I finished cleaning the bathroom, taking my time, thinking through every detail. Then I walked upstairs to our bedroom, where my wife lay propped against pillows, scrolling through her phone. "Feeling better?" I asked. She looked up with those big brown eyes that had first attracted me in college. "A little. Thanks for taking care of everything, honey. You're such a good husband." The words hit me like a physical blow, but I kept my expression neutral. "Always happy to help. I'm going to run some errands." I placed the sealed bag of condoms on her nightstand, right next to her water glass. Then I removed my wedding ring, the gold band she'd placed on my finger with tears in her eyes 23 years ago, and set it on top of the bag. From my wallet, I pulled out a small piece of paper and wrote, "I know. Don't contact me." Sharon's face went white as she read the note, her eyes moving from the ring to the bag to my face. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Jack, I can explain." But I was already walking away. I grabbed my pre-packed overnight bag from the hall closet. I'd prepared it while she thought I was doing laundry, and headed for the door. "Jack, please. It's not what you think." I paused at the front door and looked back. She was standing at the top of the stairs in her nightgown, no longer bothering with the fake cough. Her face was streaked with tears, her carefully maintained composure finally cracking. 23 years, Sharon. We'll let the lawyers figure out what it was." I closed the door behind me and walked to my car, not looking back as she pounded on the windows, screaming my name. As I pulled out of our driveway, I watched our house, my house, disappear in the rearview mirror. For the first time in years, I had no idea what came next. But I knew exactly what I was going to do about it. Trat. The family cabin sits on 12 acres of Wisconsin woodland, 3 hours from our suburban home. My grandfather built it in the 1960s, and it's been my refuge since childhood. Sharon always complained it was too remote, too primitive. No cell service unless you climbed the hill behind the property. Perfect. I've been here 3 days now, and I'm not hiding, I'm orchestrating. The first night, I sat on the porch with a legal pad and wrote down everything I knew, everything I suspected, and everything I needed to find out. Sharon's recent behavior suddenly made sense through this new lens. The late nights at book club, the new gym membership she never seemed to use, despite coming home sweaty, the expensive lingerie I'd found in the laundry, lingerie she'd never worn for me. How long had I been the fool in this equation? By morning, I had a plan. I drove to the top of the hill where my phone picked up signal and made 3 calls. First, to my bank, transferring half our joint savings to an account in my name only. Legal, since it was marital property, but it would send a message. Second, to my lawyer, Harrison Beck, scheduling an emergency consultation for Monday. Third, to a private investigator Harrison had recommended years ago during a corporate fraud case. "I need documentation of an affair," I told the PI, a former cop named Rita Santos. "Photos, evidence, timeline?" "Money is no object." "How long do you think it's been going on?" he asked. I thought about the gym membership, the new perfume, the way Sharon had started doing her own laundry 6 months ago. "At least half a year, maybe longer. I'll need photos of your wife, her schedule, vehicle description, and I'll need you to stay out of the way while I work." Perfect. I was planning to anyway. The strange thing is how liberated I feel. For the first time in decades, I'm making decisions based solely on what I want, not what's expected of me, not what Sharon wants, not what the kids need, not what my job demands. Just me. I had been married so long I'd forgotten what that felt like. My phone buzzes constantly. 47 missed calls now and counting. I haven't listened to the voicemails yet, but I can imagine Sharon's progression from confusion to panic to rage to desperation. She's probably called my office, my brother, maybe even the police by now. Good. Let her explain to everyone why her husband disappeared after 23 years of marriage. Let her try to spin this story without admitting what she's done. On the second day, I started thinking about our assets. The house is in both our names, but I've been making the mortgage payments for 20 years. Sharon's part-time job at the church barely covers her personal expenses. The retirement accounts, the investments, the life insurance policies. I've been the primary breadwinner since Mark was born. She's about to discover how expensive betrayal can be. I methodically go through our financial records, separating what's mine, what's hers, and what's ours. The prenup we signed was basic, but it includes an infidelity clause. Sharon had insisted on it, claiming she wanted to protect us both from temptation. The irony would be funny if it weren't so devastating. By the third day, I feel like a different person. The man who left that house was broken, betrayed, operating on pure emotion. The man sitting on this porch is thinking 10 moves ahead. I've already won this game, Sharon just doesn't know it yet. When I finally check my voicemails, the progression is exactly what I expected. The first few are Sharon crying, begging me to come home so we can talk. Then anger. "How dare you just leave like this? We have responsibilities." Then manipulation. "The kids are worried sick. Sarah's been calling every hour." But the last message isn't from Sharon. It's from Officer Janet Mills with the County Sheriff's Department, asking me to call regarding a missing person report filed by my wife. I stare at the phone, and for the first time in 3 days, I smile. Actually smile. She's playing victim, trying to control the narrative, probably told the police that her loving husband just vanished without explanation. Poor her, she has no idea what could have happened. She wants to play games. She has no idea who she's playing with. I've spent 20 years managing corporate crises, turning disasters into opportunities, outmaneuvering people who thought they were smarter than me. Sharon thinks she's dealing with the same passive husband who's been enabling her comfort for 2 decades. She's about to learn otherwise. I pocket the phone and head inside to pack. Time to go home and start the real work. Sharon wanted a war. She's about to get one. But first, I'm going to let her explain to a police officer why her husband might have left. I'm curious to see what stories she's settled on. The drive home feels different than the drive up. 3 days ago, I was running from my life. Now I'm driving toward my future. Sharon's 51 years old, and she's about to discover what it's like to start over from nothing. I've been a good husband for 23 years. Time to try being something else. The police officer sounds relieved when I call back Monday morning. Mr. Henderson, this is Officer Mills. We received a missing person report from your wife on Saturday. She was very concerned about your whereabouts. I appreciate her concern, I say, my voice steady and professional. I've been at our family cabin, processing the discovery of my wife's extramarital affair. I needed time to think before making any permanent decisions. The silence on the other end stretches for several seconds. When Officer Mills speaks again, her tone has shifted from official concern to personal awkwardness. Oh, I see. Did you leave any indication of where you were going? He asked. I left a note explaining that I knew about the affair, along with physical evidence I'd discovered. My wife knew exactly where I was. She just didn't want to admit why I left. Physical evidence, he asked. Used condoms in our bathroom wastebasket. We haven't used contraception in 15 years, since my vasectomy. I delivered this information like a business report, clinical and factual. I also left my wedding ring. I think my intentions were quite clear. Another long pause. Well, sir, as long as you're safe and accounted for, we can close the missing person case. Thank you for calling. Thank you, Officer Mills. I'm sorry my wife wasted your department's time, I replied. The first call comes from Sarah 20 minutes later. My daughter has always been perceptive, getting straight to the point like her old man. Dad, what the hell is going on? Mom called me crying saying you disappeared, and now she won't answer her phone. Your mother and I are having some marital difficulties, sweetheart. I needed some time to think, I replied. Marital difficulties? Sarah's voice sharpens. Dad, you guys never fight. What kind of difficulties? I paused, weighing my words carefully. Sarah's 25, married herself, old enough for the truth but young enough to be devastated by it? Your mother has been having an affair. I found evidence and needed space to process it. The silence stretches so long I think the call might have dropped. An affair? Sarah's voice is barely a whisper. Are you sure? I'm sure, I replied. Oh my God, Dad, I'm so sorry. How long have you known? Since Saturday morning. That's when I found the evidence, I replied. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to protect myself and rebuild my life. Your mother made her choices. Now I'm making mine. The call with Mark goes differently. My son is defensive, aggressive, clearly influenced by whatever story Sharon has fed him. Dad, you can't just abandon your family because you're having a midlife crisis. Mom says you've been acting weird for weeks. Mark, I found condoms in our bathroom. We haven't used condoms since you were born, I replied. That stops him cold. What? He asks. Your mother has been having an affair, probably for months. I didn't abandon anyone. I discovered my wife's betrayal and took time to figure out how to handle it. That can't be right. Mom wouldn't, he stammered. Your mother has been lying to all of us. The question is, how long and about what else? I could hear him breathing heavily on the other end. You're going to divorce her? He asked. Yes, I replied. What about us? What about the family? He asks. You and Sarah will always be my children. Nothing changes that. But my marriage to your mother is over. The breakthrough comes Tuesday afternoon from an unexpected source, Mrs. Patterson. our 73-year-old neighbor who's lived across the street for 40 years. She calls while I'm at the lawyer's office reviewing paperwork. "Jack, dear, I heard you and Sharon are having troubles. I wanted you to know that if you need someone to talk to, I'm here." "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. That's very kind," I replied. "I also wanted you to know that I've been keeping track of that red Corvette that's been visiting your house. License plate DVR 2024. It's been coming by every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon for months, always when your car wasn't in the driveway." My blood goes cold. "A red Corvette?" "Yes, dear. Fancy car. The driver always parked in your driveway like he belonged there. I wrote down the plate number because, well, you never know these days. Would you like me to email you the dates I recorded?" "Yes, please. That would be very helpful," I replied. "Jack, I'm sorry this is happening to you. You've always been such a good neighbor, such a good man. You deserve better. DVR 2024, David Reynolds." Minister David Reynolds, who drives a red Corvette with vanity plates and has been counseling our marriage for the past year. The man who's been sleeping with my wife has been sitting in our living room every month, nodding sympathetically while I talked about feeling disconnected from Sharon, about wanting to improve our communication. He's been offering advice on how to be a better husband while f***ing my wife in my bed. The rage that hits me is pure and clean and absolutely clear. Not the messy emotion of betrayal, but the focused anger of being played for a fool by people who thought they were smarter than me. I call him directly. "David Reynolds," he answers. "David, this is Jack Henderson." The pause tells me everything I need to know. "Jack, how are you? Sharon mentioned you've been processing some things." "I found the condoms, David. I know about you and Sharon. I know about the red Corvette. I know about the Tuesday and Thursday visits." The line goes dead. Within an hour, I get a call from the church secretary. Minister Reynolds has submitted his resignation, effective immediately, citing personal reasons and the need to relocate for family purposes. By Wednesday morning, the story is all over our conservative Presbyterian community. The minister and the church treasurer's wife. The scandal writes itself. Harrison Beck files the divorce papers that afternoon, citing adultery with specific evidence and witness testimony. Sharon's house of lies isn't just cracking, it's collapsing completely. And I'm just getting started. The resignation hits the community like a bomb. By Thursday morning, everyone knows why Minister Reynolds left so suddenly. In a town where church gossip travels faster than wildfire, Sharon's affair becomes the scandal of the decade. I don't have to say anything, the facts speak for themselves. Sharon's carefully constructed reputation, 20 years of church involvement, community leadership, charity work, crumbles overnight. The women who used to call her for advice stop calling. The volunteer organizations quietly remove her from leadership positions. The social circle she'd cultivated treats her like a pariah. I watch it happen with clinical detachment. This isn't revenge, this is consequence. The call comes Friday evening. Sharon's voice is barely recognizable, raw, desperate, broken. "Jack, please, we need to talk. I'm pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant. At 51, after 15 years of not needing birth control. "Congratulations," I say quietly. "I assume you know who the father is?" "Jack, please don't be like this. It could be—" I cut her off. "No, Sharon, it couldn't be. We haven't been intimate in 3 months, and even if we had, I've had a vasectomy for 16 years. Don't insult both of us by pretending otherwise." She starts crying. The ugly, desperate sobs of someone whose world has completely collapsed. "I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But we can work through this. We can... The only thing we're working through is the divorce. My lawyer will contact you about a paternity test for the child. David's going to be financially responsible for his offspring. How can you be so cold? How can you just throw away 23 years?" she asked. "I didn't throw anything away, Sharon. You did. When you decided our marriage vows meant nothing. When you brought him into our home, into our bed. When you lied to my face every single day for months. I never meant for this to happen," she pleads. "You meant for every bit of it. The condoms don't lie, Sharon. You planned this. You prepared for it. You chose it. The pregnancy complicates the divorce proceedings for exactly 3 weeks. Then Sharon calls again, and this time her voice is flat, empty. "I lost the baby," she says. "I'm sorry for your loss," I say, and I mean it. Not for her, but for the child who might have been innocent in this mess. "Now, can we try to work things out?" she asked. "No, Sharon, nothing has changed except the complexity of the divorce." "What about the kids? What about our family?" she asked. "You should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair with our marriage counselor." Mark comes to see me that weekend. He looks older, worn down by the reality of what his mother has done. "Dad, I owe you an apology. I thought Mom was telling the truth about you having some kind of breakdown." "What changed your mind?" I asked. I went through her phone records, the calls to David's private number, hours and hours over the past year, and I asked her directly about the pregnancy. She couldn't look me in the eye. He sits heavily in my kitchen chair, the kitchen that's slowly becoming mine again as I remove all traces of Sharon's presence. I keep thinking about all the marriage counseling sessions. He was sitting right there, giving you advice about how to be a better husband, and he was... "Yes," I replied. "How are you not angrier? How are you so calm about this?" he asked. "Because anger would mean I still cared what she thought of me. I don't. She's a stranger who lived in my house and used my name and betrayed everything I believed about my life. Getting angry at her would be like getting angry at the weather." "What happens now?" he asks. "Now she signs the divorce papers and starts over somewhere else. The house is mine. I've been making the payments for 20 years. The retirement accounts are mostly mine. The investments are mine. She gets whatever the law requires me to give her, and not a penny more." "Where will she go?" he asks. "I don't know, and I don't care. That's her problem to solve." The final piece falls into place when Sharon is arrested for filing a false police report. She'd told Officer Mills that I'd vanished without explanation, that she had no idea why I might have left. When I provided the evidence I'd left, the note, the condoms, the circumstances, it became clear she'd lied to law enforcement. She spends one night in jail before making bail. The mugshot appears in the local paper's police blotter. Sharon Henderson, 51, arrested for filing a false report. The symbolism is perfect. She'd tried to make herself the victim and instead became the criminal. She signs the divorce papers the following week. No contest, no negotiation, no drama. She takes her personal belongings, her car, and the minimum settlement required by law. Everything else, the house, the investments, the retirement accounts, the respect of our children, stays with me. I watch from the kitchen window as she loads her Honda Civic with the remnants of her life. 23 years reduced to 6 suitcases and a few boxes. She doesn't look back as she drives away, and neither do I. 3 days later, she's gone from town entirely. Someone mentions seeing her car at the bus station, but I don't investigate. Her forwarding address is her problem, not mine. Sarah comes for dinner that night, the first family meal in our house since this all began. "How are you doing, Dad? Really?" I look around the kitchen, my kitchen now, and realize I feel lighter than I have in years. "I'm good, sweetheart. Better than good. I'm free." 6 months later, I'm sitting in my home office, the room that used to be Sharon's craft space, reviewing the quarterly reports that earned me the promotion I should have gotten years ago. When you're not distracted by a disintegrating marriage, it's amazing how much sharper your professional focus becomes. The house feels completely different now. Cleaner, somehow, more honest. I've removed every trace of Sharon, except for family photos that include Sarah and Mark. They visit regularly, and our relationships are stronger than ever. Mark, especially, has grown up in ways I didn't expect. Discovering his mother's betrayal forced him to reevaluate everything he thought he knew about family, loyalty, and responsibility. Sarah moved in for 2 months after the divorce, claiming she wanted to help with the transition. Really, I think she needed to process her own feelings about her mother's actions. We spent long evenings talking through 23 years of marriage, identifying the red flags we'd all missed, the small lies that built into the massive deception. "I keep thinking about all the times she criticized you," Sarah said one night. "About how you worked too much, or you weren't romantic enough, or you didn't pay enough attention to her needs. She was making you feel guilty for not being perfect while she was sleeping with David Reynolds." The guilt was the point, I realized. If I was always trying to be a better husband, I wouldn't notice she was being a terrible wife. My morning routine has become sacred. Coffee on the back deck, reading the news, planning my day on my terms. No one else's schedule to accommodate, no one else's mood to manage, no one else's lies to navigate around. The irony isn't lost on me. I spent 23 years trying to be the perfect husband, and it nearly destroyed me. Now that I'm just trying to be a good man, to myself, to my children, to my friends, everything else has fallen into place. The promotion came with a substantial raise and stock options. The house, without Sharon's spending habits, feels luxurious on my income alone. I've started traveling, something Sharon always found excuses to avoid. Last month, I spent a week in Colorado hiking trails I'd wanted to explore for years. 3 weeks ago, I received a forwarding address from Sharon's lawyer. She's moved to Arizona, apparently started over with a new identity in a town where no one knows her story. I threw the letter away, unopened. Whatever she's doing now is no longer my concern. The kids ask sometimes if I'm angry, if I hate her, if I want revenge. The answer is no to all three. You can't hate someone who no longer exists in your world. You can't seek revenge against someone who's already destroyed themselves. Sharon wanted to have an affair? She got one, along with all the consequences that came with it. Public humiliation, loss of family, financial ruin, social exile. She chose all of it when she chose to betray 23 years of marriage. I chose differently. I chose to rebuild rather than destroy, to focus on my future rather than her past, to become someone better rather than someone bitter. The man who discovered those condoms 6 months ago thought betrayal would destroy him. He was wrong. It freed him to become the man he was always meant to be. Just on his own terms this time. Tonight, Mark is coming for dinner. We're grilling steaks and watching the game, and for the first time in longer than I can remember, I'm looking forward to an evening at home. I thought being a good husband would save my marriage. Turns out, being a good man saved my life instead. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.